All right, we're going to try this again, but I did something for you guys, and because I don't know that people have actually done this for themselves. But I want to start out by saying the rule on this channel has always been take what you need and leave what you don't. You don't come here and start debates. You don't scream and yell and cry and call me names and that kind of stuff. A lot of that was happening yesterday. And people were saying I was snarky and condescending. Well, I'll tell you why I wasn't yesterday. But I also was told that, I had no right to comment on this because I didn't buy Tractor Supply feed. That's like saying a doctor cannot treat a disease he doesn't have. It's silly. But I went and researched the feeds that Tractor Supply carries. I think this is the bulk of them. There may be others that they carry that I'm not aware of, but I went to a site in this state and I checked out what they have and I checked out the ingredients. And I'm going to tell you about a few of them, and I'm going to tell you which one I would feed if I was stuck buying at Tractor Supply. The first one I'm going to talk about, and let me tell you, most of these bags are 40-pound bags, not 50-pound bags. You have to take that into consideration. You have to. Oh my goodness, I think my battery's about to go down. I just put a new battery in it, I thought. Okay, I don't know if it starts, I will change the battery. All right, Producer's Pride, 40 pounds. Among all the feeds I saw, these were probably the worst ingredients. The most cheaply made feed I saw on there was Producer's Pride. It's not just missing one amino acid, it's bad. It's got, the first ingredients are, I have notes here because I cannot remember these all. If you expect me to remember these, you're crazy. It has processed grain byproducts, grain products, calcium carbonate, plant protein products. Those are the first ingredients. Only 40 pounds, okay? And yes, it's missing some amino acids and such like that. But that's not the worst of that feed. Okay. Second, Do More layer pellets, 40-pound bag. Better than Producer's Pride, but no meat or bone meal. It has wheat middlings, ground corn, dehulled soybean meal, corn distillers, dried grains, calcium carbonate, corn gluten feed, animal fat preserved with ethoxyquin, blah, 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 blah. Okay, got some vitamins in there. But it's 40 pounds and no meat. The next one I saw is Do More organic layer pellets. 16% organic layer pellets. 40 pounds again, a 40-pound bag, not 50-pound bag. It was 20, at this store, it was listed as being $26 for 40 pounds. Pretty high. However, for that price, you get organic corn. Okay? You get organic corn, you get organic soybean meal, organic wheat, calcium carbonate, organic roasted soybeans, organic alfalfa, blah, blah, diatomaceous earth, all this kind of stuff, okay? So it's got some fair ingredients. If you're really into the organic, that's not that bad. Now, Do More non-GMO. 35 pounds, not even 40, it's 35 pounds. And supposedly $15 for 35 pounds, and I found that pretty good, honestly. Considering that it has non-GMO ground corn. I haven't seen a feed with non-GMO corn. So that to me would mean, to me, I would have thought it was more expensive than $15 for 35 pounds. But it has non-GMO ground corn, non-GMO soybean meal, calcium carbonate, organic alfalfa meal, organic soybean oil, blah, 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 okay? It does not have any meat protein. Plant protein. Everything I'm listing for you, except for one, has all plant protein. Veggie, soy, protein. Substandard protein. Oh, the makers of the feed will tell you it's not substandard, but I'll tell you it is. And I listed a PDF file, 32-page PDF that I think you should read. And yes, it came from the government, but it came from the government a long time ago when the government was still encouraging us to keep our backyard flocks. So I think I would, it has some weight, okay? But, okay, so that was Do More non-GMO, 35 pounds for I think about 15 bucks is what they said. You'll have to check with your own Tractor Supply. I don't know if they have more than 35-pound bag. I'm not sure. That's probably the biggest one they have. Okay, then they have Nutrena Nature Wise in a 50-pound bag, okay? 50-pound bag. That's good, okay? It's got more product in it, 10 pounds more product than most of these. That's good. It's got some essential oils. It contains oil of oregano, oil of thyme, oil of rosemary oil, star anise essential oils. Okay, that's nice. Antifungal, antibacterial, that kind of stuff. Those are all good things, but it has no meat. Still has no meat and bone meal. It's still vegetable protein. It consists of ground corn, wheat middlings, corn distillers, dried grains with solubles, dehulled soybean meal, calcium carbonate, ground wheat, on and on. It's got Aztec marigold meal, which is really for the color, I think, of the eggs more than anything else, and on and on. So it's got some nice essential oils, and it's got more product, 10 pounds more product. I didn't catch the price of that, but still, no meat. Then this was interesting. Purina Leina. It's a 40-pound bag, but when I went to look at the list of ingredients, it said it's state specific, that you have to look at your own bag in your own state to see what the ingredients are. Now, I don't know if that means it's a different ingredients in different states or different labeling requirements. I don't know, but I'm not going to Tractor Supply to get a picture of a label. But you would have to check that out. But it's still just a 40-pound bag, and I know for a fact Leina is vegetable protein. Now, I found one feed at Tractor Supply, and it is a Do More feed. And if I was buying at Tractor Supply and good or better quality protein was important to me, this is the one I would buy. And the only caveat with this is you will have to supplement calcium for sure. Even though I hope you're doing that already, putting oyster shell free feed for your laying hens. But this is Do More. 17% protein listed on the label. By law, they're supposed to list that. And it's supposed to be accurate within a certain ratio, a certain percentage of error. There is error, a margin of error with all these ratios. You know this, right? That's acceptable to the government. But it is listed as 17% protein, all flock. Pelleted poultry feed. It is a 50-pound bag, and it contains meat and bone meal. It starts with ground corn, wheat middlings, porcine meat and bone meal, porcine, pork, protein, ground soybean hulls, dehulled soybean meal, cane molasses, lysine, blah, blah. It's got all the amino acids, it's got folic acid, it's got active dry yeast and all that. It's got some decent ingredients in here. And it does have meat protein. So the only problem with it is it has the same amount of calcium as, say, goat feed would have. All flock means it is a pelleted poultry feed made for a broad spectrum of poultry, turkeys, guineas, quail, chickens. It's made not for laying hens, but it's made for a broad, all your poultry, to feed them all the same ration. The only thing you would need to do is you would need to free feed oyster shell, and if you're only feeding laying hens, you might as well just sprinkle some in the feed. Okay? But it does contain meat and bone meal. And yes, it does have soybean hulls too. You just about can't find a feed that doesn't have soy, except for things like my Tucker Milling, non-GMO, no soy, no corn. I don't agree with the no corn, but it keeps the price down. If it's non-GMO, corn would be more expensive generally. Although that Do More non-GMO with the corn in it, it's not, I don't know, corn's the first ingredient listed. Now I don't know what percentage it is. So that would be my recommendation. Generally, game bird feeds are higher in protein to start with. I would say game bird layer, and they tend to, some of them still have the meat in there, okay? You have to be a label reader, people. You've got to read your labels. I know you may not believe your labels, but that's the only thing you've got. You can't independently send every bag to a lab. You've got to read your labels, and by law, they're supposed to be accurate to within a certain margin of error. Okay, so this video included some actual feed suggestions for those who insist on purchasing at Tractor Supply. I know there's some locations that you don't have, a lot of feed stores, you don't have a county co-op. You may have one in the next county over. You may not know you have a county co-op. I would research that. Or you could drive to the next county. I mean, it's very possible. Let me get my papers right here so I can read them better. You could drive to the next county. Might be worth it to buy a better feed. Okay. But yesterday, I was accused of a lot of stuff that I didn't know I was talking about, and I had no right to talk about it because I don't buy Tractor Supply feed. There's a reason I don't buy Tractor Supply feed. Is because the only time I did, when I happened to be going by one, I thought, well, I need a bag of feed. I'll go in there and I'll buy one. It was moldy. You think I'm supposed to keep buying it after it's moldy just so I can suffer with everybody else? No, thank you. But you know, a lot of people are hanging their hats on some unknown guy's lab analysis. I know people think, it's one guy, y'all. I call it a backyard lab. I don't know what kind of lab he's got, but you know what? I don't know his qualifications, and neither do you. You just know what you've been told. There are normal margins for error in commercial feed analysis. There are. I don't know his expertise. I don't know his abilities. I don't know his character. I don't know if he has the strength to go against the desired outcome of the mob, so to speak, because it was a mob yesterday. Make no mistake about it. It was a panicked mob. I don't know if he'll skew the results based on mob rule. Give you the actual accurate results. I don't know. And I don't care. It's one guy. I had several folks mention this guy to me I'd never heard of, as if he's going to be the savior of their conspiracy theory. And I was really disappointed in some folks that I thought they had their heads glued on straight on different homesteading channels, and seemed like they were just engaging in clickbait. When you get right down to it, trying to keep the panic alive. I don't like that. I don't do that. Now, when I used the words conspiracy theory, I was told it was the same as the COVID stuff. The conspiracy theory became fact. Now, let me clear that up for you. Those were not conspiracy theories. They were only called those by the people with nefarious intentions, who accused people who were getting a hold of the truth conspiracy theorists, because they didn't want the truth to come out. They were actual conspiracies. There's conspiracy theory and there's actual conspiracies. They were conspiracies to keep us in the dark, so we would inject ourselves with experimental poisons, medications, whatever you want to call them, designed with one goal in mind, and that goal wasn't better health. I didn't make my conclusions about all that based on wild conjecture. I listened to hours and hours and hours of the testimony and scientific evidence by doctors and scientists. I linked for you the Jonathan Otto series, docuseries. And if you didn't watch that, I can't spoon feed everybody with that. I mean, I did. I offered that. It was free. There were hours and hours and hours and hours of doctors and scientists who've been shut up on this platform and others. So that wasn't conspiracy theory that became fact. That was fact that was labeled conspiracy theory. There's a difference. And I didn't just believe all that stuff. I had facts to back it up, and facts do matter. Okay, I was emphatic yesterday in my video expressing my opinion about this issue that we're talking about here. And I am fully entitled to my opinion, which at this point is just as valid as any of yours. But I was accused of being condescending and snarky. I guess I hurt somebody's feelings because I didn't jump on bandwagon. I don't tend to jump on bandwagons because I lose my footing and I fall off. I don't like bandwagons. Bandwagons are not my thing. And, you can't... You remember that old Cher movie when she slapped the guy across the face and said, snap out of it? You remember that? I was trying to snap you out of this and make you think. People go, well, you're just not gentle enough. You didn't have to be so rude. You can't handle crazy panic people gently. You've got to wake them up. You've got to shake them up to wake them up. Everybody was going insane with completely illogical and nonsensical conclusions and accusations. And I say those are crazy because it's based on what I know of the mechanism of laying hens. It was a little bit of tough love. But oh no, it's like when y'all get to be so dang sensitive? What is wrong with people being so sensitive? Be adults. I'm trying to get people to think, not react. I'm not the one that's being reactive. Y'all were. I know why chickens lay, and I know why they don't lay. I've been a breeder for 18 years, not just a chicken keeper and hobbyist, but chickens are animals, not machines. And you can't say a lot of things with 100% certainty about any of this because chickens are animals. And guess what? They don't always follow textbooks. But people don't like their conspiracy theories being stomped on. It's almost like a victimhood mentality. And yeah, people are trying to victimize us from the government. That is true. But there's proof of a lot of that. There's not proof of this yet. And people are going off the rails. And they're spreading like wildfire over YouTube. It might have had a touch more weight if all this hadn't happened at the very time chickens stop laying normally. Late summer to early winter. If it happened any other time, like when they start ramping up, maybe it would make a little more sense, but it doesn't. So, and even then, it would still be wild conjecture based on non-scientific nonsense. Do you know the difference between causation and association? Causation means this happened because this caused it. Association means this happened at the same time this happened. They were associated, but this didn't cause this. You can show no causation here. There may be an association. Maybe they did something. Maybe they lowered the quality of the feed and at the same time your chicken slowed down laying. But that doesn't mean the feed caused it. It just means it was associated with the time frame. There's a scientific fact for you. Somebody said to me she found a feed containing meat protein and it was really expensive. Well, of course it was expensive. What did you expect? What isn't expensive today? If you shop Tractor Supply, well, you've been paying high prices for years for substandard feed. Vegetarian feeds, and you're ignoring the ones they do have that might actually be better for your chickens. But I notice people don't read labels. Quality feed is expensive. though it's less, the same feeds might be less expensive somewhere other than Tractor Supply. Plus, if you got the feed I suggested and you changed over, don't expect to see a big change overnight, because if you've been feeding them vegetarian feeds and they haven't had animal protein for years, then that can affect their progeny, honestly. It's going to take a while for higher quality feed to change anything. It may be too late. I don't know. I don't know how old your birds are. I don't know what kind of breed they are. I don't know if you got them from a hatchery, you got them from a breeder. I don't know. There's a lot of factors involved. They're animals. And I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm trying to get a point across. And people just don't appreciate that for some reason. But you know what? If you want to save money so that you won't buy quality feed, and you've got your birds pinned 24/7, they don't get out, and all their feed is what they eat. If you buy low quality vegetarian feeds, then you really can't complain when it affects your birds adversely. You save money or you care for your animals. You got to weigh those two things. Optimal care for your animals. If you only feed them corn, which is still pretty darn pricey these days. I mean, what isn't pricey? Well, they'll show that in their feather condition, their susceptibility to getting lice and mites, their weight control, and in the end, their laying production. And I also want to say something else. And yeah, I know you're really thrilled, aren't you? Let me make sure I don't forget what I intended to say here. But there's more to chickens' health than egg production. Yeah, I know, I got chickens for eggs too, but I care about their health also. But if all you care about is one egg every day from every hen, and that's all you care about, and that's the end of it all for you, you got the wrong attitude. I told you that Tractor Supply does carry about the ones that is superior. No, it's not non-GMO. No, it's not organic, but it does have meat and bone meal in it, and it's got a slightly higher protein than laying pellets, layer feed. Just have to add the calcium. But I want to tell you, if you are changing from Producer's Pride to Layena to the regular Dumores, back and forth, you're not changing anything. They're all the vegetarian feeds. They all basically have the same stuff in them. And make note of whether you're buying a 40-pound bag or a 50-pound bag. Because if you pay $25 for a 50-pound bag and you pay $20 for a 40-pound bag, the 50-pound bag's a better buy. I want to say something else. If you're feeding what people call treats, I don't know what you're calling treats, honestly. I don't feed treats. But if you're feeding treats, kitchen scraps, maybe even free-ranging at the same time, why are you focused on one amino acid in your commercial feed when they're eating all this other stuff? That doesn't make any sense. Now, unless those treats are something very nutritious and high in protein and high in calcium, like black soldier fly larvae or mealworms, if you're giving them actual just, scrape your plate off and give them to the chickens after you eat your pasta or something, you are lowering their protein content. You are. I don't feed treats and I don't give them scraps unless it's fat off my steak, a piece of hamburger I don't eat, or actual eggs or something like the black soldier fly larvae or mealworms. That's high in protein and animal fat. There are documents that show scientifically that hens can still produce eggs with far less protein than people think. And I can't believe that a bag that's labeled by law as having 16 to 18% protein actually contains 12% or less, or something like that. I don't know what you're thinking, but even if it was 16% and it has 14 or 15%, that's not going to stop them laying. It isn't. Corn only has 8% protein, and it's very high in fat and in natural sugars, and some people literally feed only corn and they still get eggs. Now, they don't get many eggs because they're not giving their chickens good nutrition. But they're getting some eggs. And I'd bet money that the feed, even if it is not exactly your 16% protein, I bet it's pretty darn close. Remember, margin of error in the analysis for the feed label. A lot of people feed, well, first I want to say that if I was trying to calm down the wild theories, but if, for instance, somebody actually found that a certain brand labeled a bag as 16 to 18% protein, whatever it is, whatever they labeled it, that it was found to contain 4 or 5% less protein per analysis than the bag by law stated that it had, you should absolutely hold their feet to the fire. There's no question. But you got to prove that. You have to prove that. You got to have evidence. Now, a lot of people that I know never fed their chickens layer feed. They fed them the grower, not the starter grower, but they fed starter and then they fed grower. And grower is lower in protein to slow down their sexual development so they don't grow too quickly, don't mature too quickly. That is better for their health. And most grower feeds are 15% protein. Folks, a lot of people I know feed grower feed and add calcium. They never go to layer feed. Never. Bet you didn't know that, did you? A lot of people just do this, the all flock, add calcium. But grower feeds on purpose have lower protein to slow down their sexual development because laying eggs too early is not healthy. Now, some naturally will lay earlier and without any alteration from you, but anyway, let me tell you, this country had chickens producing eggs way before commercial feed even existed. And you think about it, there are people who have pastured poultry who eat nothing but grass, green forage, and bugs. They don't eat commercial feed, and guess what? They lay eggs. To hear y'all talk, that's not even possible. What could stop them laying eggs happened 15 years ago when they took the animal protein out of the feeds and made it vegetable protein. I saw it happen because I saw fewer and fewer feeds available to me with animal protein. Tucker milling held out longer than anybody else. It was just a year and a half ago that they lost the animal protein from my preferred feed, the show layer 22. We went for super layer 22 to show layer 22, and they took out the animal protein to save the company money, not for my birds, but to save the company money. That's what happened. About 15 or so years ago, if I recall right, is when the bad stuff happened, not just the last few months. Low quality ingredients to save companies money, not for your bird's benefit. So, I want to tell you something. This is my final video on the subject. This is it. Don't begin defending your theories here, same as the fermented feed video. And I warned you, I warned I warned everybody on that video. I would remove snarky comments, criticism of opinions based on facts. It becomes a free-for-all. If this becomes a free-for-all, I'm going to disable the comments and you won't get to say a thing. Same as I threatened to do on the fermented feed video. Sorry, I haven't had any water this morning. But these are my opinions based on what I know of chicken physiology, egg production, hen hormones, and based on scientific knowledge. With 18 years of my experience, my own and the shared experience of veterinarians I know who also are chicken owners and breeders, as well as other chicken breeders, at least 2 of whom hold PhDs in poultry science, to back that up. If you don't want to purchase better feed, the consequences are your own. Hens won't produce for you if they don't have the nutrition to do so. But, I mean, that's for penned hens. If they free range, they can get their own nutrition for the most part. They eat wormers on range. They will produce even with lower protein. Okay, sorry. Protein alone is not going to stop them from producing eggs. Free ranging allows them to pick their own feed. They can eat worms and bugs and snakes, mice, lizards. They eat anything. They crave animal protein. If you watch them, they crave it. So you can't really, if you have penned birds and you can't free range them, you can't really complain about substandard production if you're feeding them substandard feeds. Or you feed them too many treats that are low protein and effectively lower their protein levels. You know, don't complain about that. You know, even most of the ones Tractor Supply sells at inflated prices are just not that great feed. They're just not that good of feeds. They're cheaply made feeds with cheap protein sources. The cost is the cost, okay? If it's too much to pay, trust me, even at today's egg prices, it's cheaper to buy eggs than to buy the feed. The feed prices have gone up by a long shot, by some as much as 50 to 100%. Feed prices have skyrocketed. Buying feed, I mean, if you've got more, I mean, I've got, you know, I round about 25 birds. I've had as many 55 birds before. It costs a lot of money to buy feed and to buy the bedding that goes, even the bedding, the pine shavings have gone up from $7 a bag. Well, actually, I think it started at $6.50 when I first started buying them, to over $10 a bag. And I use multiple bags in my barn, and you want to keep a clean, dry environment, have to refresh those, remove them, replace them. Costs a lot of money for that. It's cheaper to buy eggs in the store, even at today's egg prices, than to do all of that stuff. And it keeps you from worrying about all this stuff, doesn't it? But they won't be as nutritious as they would be from free-range hens. God, I don't want to think about the price of free-range, so-called free-range eggs in the store right now. I don't even know what those are. The regular eggs are high enough. But remember, you won't get all the joy and the fun of having the chickens. You won't get the fertilizer, and you won't get really fresh eggs like you know, if you buy in the store. But you got to remember this as well. This high egg production, the high production that you're trying to keep going, it comes at a cost to their health. And it's usually premature death from reproductive malfunctions. If that's all you care about, buy eggs at the store. This is my final word on the subject, okay? And if this becomes a free-for-all, like I said, I will disable comments. I'm not having this. I won't debate on this channel. You feel free to panic at will. I'm not going to do it. And if scientific evidence comes in, and I'm not talking about this Mike guy, that these feeds they are lying on the feed labels, then we'll deal with it then. But until then, I don't want to hear anything else about it. And I am so ashamed and disappointed in some of these channels that are fear-mongering. I told you what feed I recommend from Tractor Supply. Buy it, don't buy it. No skin off my nose. But you know, just remember, instant gratification is not what this is about. You got to allow their bodies to recover from all the years of all the other garbage. So, before you call me snarky and condescending, remember, it wasn't me that was panicking, it was you. So, that's all I have to say. That's enough. This video's been long enough. Good luck. Bye.